Why should the public vote for the Conservative Party?
Then let me ask you the question, why not?
Because of the record in government?
Sorry?
Because of the last 12 years?
We're good with the economy. We're very good with the economy. We can manage the economy.
I think it's the only political party in this country that stands up for us on a global scale properly.
I hear almost no talk whatsoever from Liz Truss or any in the cabinet on Christianity. Some people are naturally wired to be a conservative, to be what I call a proper conservative. So not a conservative as in a member of the party, because any old bugger can do that. But to be actually conservative in your views and your mindset, your ideas that you want to protect, what you hold dear, and essentially further the things that are maybe not so significant in society as they were a few 50 years ago. It's a natural feeling of this is something I care about. I am naturally a Christian. It's not something you just adopt and say you are. It's nothing.
I wasn't actually originally a Conservative member. I actually worked for a Labour MP. The switch was mainly because I saw that my values didn't align with the Labour Party, and I was actually experimentative. I wanted to see whether the Conservative Party was welcoming and open, and in contrast, they were actually. And again, I'm not saying there aren't issues. It's still very much there are in association level, grassroots level. There are still groups that are male-dominated and potentially of white groups, and in some situations you do feel a little out of place, but I'd never felt like I wasn't respected or needed or wanted. And actually, on the contrast, people have come to me because of my experience from the Conservative Party, wanted me to influence policy because it's something they haven't experienced but I have, and so I think I'm adding value, and in politics I think for most people unfortunately it's a choice that comes with a lot of abuse and difficulty, and so you've got to actually think that you're doing it for the greater good, or you're doing it for something, for change, and that's the only reason I got involved. And
we have been delivering for the last 12 years, and we want to deliver for the next 50 years. So I think this is the only party which can deliver for the country. And millions of people are suffering at the moment. They're in a critical condition, not for any politics. It's for the global crisis happening because of the Putin's war, barbaric war in Ukraine. There was no reason. Before that war, our economy was good. We didn't have the energy price increased. Everything was a bit of more stable. But this war has put us in a situation.
There's been some issues here and there. But I think that the government would adjust itself. Is up to the task. The most important task I would say she has ahead of her is really to unite the party, because if the party is not united, I'm a bit skeptical of our ability to win the next general election.
Do you think you're in danger of losing the next election?
I think any election must be fought properly. The danger is always there, that you can't be complacent, but most especially you cannot go into an election when you're not united on issues that affect the country. The country wants to see a Conservative Party that is united, that is strong, that can lead the country in the next general election.
Why should the average voter vote for the Conservatives?
Why should the average voter vote Conservative? We're good with the economy. We're very good with the economy. We can manage the economy, and we're forward thinking. And if you hear what some of the things that Kwasi was saying about building, we understand it's caused a bit of a problem when he removed 45%, removed the cap. But he's trying to stimulate growth, and sometimes it takes measures like that. And we're bold enough and strong enough to take these measures, whereas Labour is just about handing out. They don't have any answer. All they're doing is just picking at the Tory, some of our policies and the things that we're bringing up.
I think it's the only political party in this country that stands up for us on a global scale properly, rather than doing us down. We seem to talk ourselves up a lot, which is only right because we are a great country. And I do believe in a low tax system, although I do agree that at the moment it's difficult to implement that because we've had the cost of living crisis, and with the war in Ukraine, And obviously COVID, we're still recovering from that really financially.
To work for working class people, to work for the vulnerable people, to work for the people who are struggling. Don't listen to the fuss, listen to what we deliver. If you don't give you money, look, your electric bill would be like 6,500 or more than that. Our government given a cap. Where's the money coming from? The money the government is giving to you. Be grateful to the government.
Is the current Conservative establishment, are they proper Conservatives by your definition?
No.
What makes them not proper Conservatives?
They don't believe in some of the pillars of what Conservatism is. I hear almost no talk whatsoever from Liz Truss or any in the cabinet on Christianity. I hear no discussion of things like immigration, and it's not that necessarily being anti-immigration makes you Conservative, but believing in national borders. These are things that are in the scriptures, and and the belief in that each nation has its land and that those borders should be strong, protected. I'm not saying we don't let anyone in, but the current Conservative establishment sees things like immigration as purely an economic tool. They don't see any aspect of a cultural implications whatsoever. It's just not in their consideration, and if it is, they dismiss it out of hand. So it's that sort of thing that I think makes them not really Conservative. They are right-wing liberals, I guess you might say.
This conference bringing a great vision for our country, and also the bold vision, the execution with our new government under Prime Minister Liz Truss, and we are hoping that we'll be winning the next general election as long as we can deliver the things, the promises we are giving to the country. And there are a lot of hype from the Labour Party throughout the media, but I don't think millions of people voice not been heard. And people's voice we are hearing. We are working for the working class people. We are working for the people in hardship, the people who are in vulnerable situation. We are listening for them. We are working for them.
What are you hoping to see from the Conservatives in the next 2 years?
I support what Kwasi is saying about growth. We do need growth. We do need jobs. I mean, I've got to be careful what I say here, but we need work, and the way forward is growth, developing the economy, seeing the Conservatives grow and have confidence in, again, immigration, big issue. There are things that just need to be spoken about, which Labour would never address, but the Conservatives are addressing. So let's hope immigration, growth, business, development, let's see those areas I want to.
What would you like to discuss about immigration?
I've got to be careful here. There's just so many things that need to be addressed. Illegal immigration has to be addressed. It has to be spoken about. And I think many of us, we don't touch it because we're afraid to be labelled as bigots or racists. But it has to be addressed because, was it 1,300 came in the other day, 500, 600 weekly, and we can't sustain that as a nation. We just can't sustain it. So it needs to be spoken about and it needs to be addressed. And I think some MPs and politicians keep away from it because they don't want to be labelled as racist.
What is some misconception about the Conservative Party?
I mean, one of the misconceptions is probably that decisions are taken for our rich friends. I'm personally not rich. I'm working class. I think, especially certain parts of the media would like to portray us as only caring about wealthy people, but that's just totally not true. We do have a different way, of helping and supporting, people who are on lower incomes. And that's not popular with especially people on the left. But, ultimately the Conservative Party wants to do the best thing for everyone in this country. So that's a big misconception that I think people actually thought about it. I think it isn't true anyway.
We should do much better. We should listen much better. But yes, everything is learning and growing, right? So that's the thing we're doing at the moment. We're learning, we're growing. And I think we'll be doing the same for future.
If you're conservative, and this does tick me off a little bit, you come from a wealthy background, don't be ashamed. Like we had certain MPs that would be seen on camera filling a car that they'd never drive. That gives me the ick. Just be who you are.
Rishi Sunak gives the ick.
I'm not going to mention any names. No, mention any names. I'm not mentioning names. But be who you are and don't be ashamed. And if you're a Tory, even if you come from a wealthy background, that's who you are. Just as I come from a working class background, that's who I am. I'm not ashamed.